Hello, good morning. We are starting our new commerce experience for seed-based offer presentation today. It's an exciting day today for those who transact new commerce already, and I will talk about some details here today. But I hope that today everyone already at least have some overview what NCE is and where it goes. But if not, then you will have a lot of information that will be very useful for you. First of all, important notice. So information is provided as is. There is no warranties. Still, we see that despite the program was launched in January, there are still changes in policies, and we clearly see that that's probably not the last one. That will be happening here in near time. So whatever you see on the slides, it has no warranties. So we can have some changes in the future. Presentation may contain some NDA information. In general, the presentation is meant for the resellers, so please do not share the slides with your customers. It's for you only. An event has been recorded, and if you don't feel comfortable with that, please do leave now. Some house rules. All participants are muted as this is a live event, but the Q&A option is available for you, and I really encourage you to use the Q&A option. I have my colleague Martin behind the scene who is checking the questions, triaging those questions, answer some questions. If we are not able to answer all the questions, we definitely take our time after the event, answer those questions and post those in the knowledge base that we have. So you will have the access not only to the information that we already have in the knowledge base, and that's not only the Q&A, but also a lot of other marketing assets that you can use while talking to your customers, but also the presentation recording that you can find directly in the knowledge base in Also Cloud Marketplace. All right, so about the changes, those who have been attending our previous events, there is one change that have happened just last week, and that's around the 72-hour cancellation policy. There is a change, and probably that's the only thing that you would learn from this event. Other than that, there is not much changes in what is happening. So I think that if you stay for some minutes, then you will get information about changes in this policy, and then probably you may leave as there will be nothing new for you. For those who have not been attending this event, this will be interesting event to see. So what we will talk about, the timeline. I will show you important milestones for the partners, because there are certain milestones that we have passed already, but some that are still coming up. And the one is actually happening today. Of course, we'll go through the new commerce basic rules. We first touch the moment to talk about why new commerce came, why we have this change, and then of course go into details to see what exactly is new commerce for seed-based offers. Then some best practices, our learnings, and some limitations that we see in the new commerce so far. But that will be interesting for those who already started transacting and would like to get more information about what's the best practices, how to work with new commerce, how to work with the customers. And marketplace features. I will show what we can do today in the marketplace, what's not yet available. So stay tuned, you will find information very useful. And of course, the new features that Microsoft will be launching in the future will be also very interesting for you to start planning your work internally in the teams. And the support, so how we can support you further after this event, how we can really help you to adopt new commerce is something that I also will be touching at the end of the presentation. All right, so let's go. Timeline. This is the basic timeline that has been updated in January. Still no changes. From March 10, all new subscriptions must be placed in new commerce. This is something that we learn. Existing customers with existing subscriptions still may use legacy, and they have all the features enabled, so there is no limitation on any changes, for example, or doing any changes to the subscription. So I mean, like increasing, decreasing number of seats, or terminating the subscription, you still can do this in legacy. And until July, all this legacy subscription can be renewed for another 12 months in legacy as well. After that, from July, all the subscription, even the renewing subscription that have a renewal date starting from July 1st, they have to go new commerce. There is no magic in turning those legacy subscription to new commerce starting from July. So that means that if there is a renewal time for the legacy subscription, this legacy subscription will not renew and go into expired status. So partners must be really careful with these deadlines, which are after July 1st, to ensure that your customers will not lose access to services and data. So that's very, very important. From January 23, Microsoft will stop paying incentives from legacy subscription. And this is very important information for those partners who are earning incentives from Microsoft, participating in incentives program with Microsoft. And this is very important that you are already now plan migration of your customers to new commerce and explore what's the renewal dates for the subscriptions, or maybe not even waiting for the renewal, but you will see from the best practices when it makes sense to wait until renewal date or when it makes sense to make a move already now. And after June 23, we believe that there will be no more legacy subscriptions in general, but there might be some exceptions, but we think that by that time, all the legacy subscription will be moving away. And to look a little bit more deeper and a little bit wider picture here, where we are. So there were a lot of milestones already in January, where Microsoft actually enabled the new commerce. At the same time, Microsoft made the perpetual software available only through CSP, so retired the open license program. And in January as well, Microsoft launched the transition campaign to support the transition to new commerce, and that's 5% for the annual commitment term subscription and 20% for the monthly term subscriptions. But we will touch this a little bit later as well. From February, Microsoft made also changes in Microsoft Azure. For legacy subscription, there have been changes in incentives and in pricing. So that's very important for those who work with the Azure to make sure that you migrate your customers to new Azure plan. And in March, so in March 10, as I already mentioned, so we moved to a next phase where new subscription must be placed only in new commerce. There's no more legacy option. And also in March, there was a price increase for Microsoft 365 SKUs. There were 6 SKUs, which price was increased. Microsoft was prolonging that period for 14 days, naming that grace period. And I think that was helping actually very much to those partners who didn't manage to do this last moment due to some errors and very overloaded state of the APIs, because everybody tried to place their orders at the last moment and APIs were overloaded and were not able to process all the orders on time. So that was really a good time for those partners as well who had then additionally 14 days to process the orders with the old price. For now, all prices are increased as was planned, so there is no more any grace period. So we are now today at the next milestone, which is end of March. The last day of March is when the annual promotion 5% discount for annual term subscription is ending today until midnight. It's like a Cinderella story. It's the last time to place those orders. And I think that those who plan to do this, it's really recommended to do it as soon as possible, not wait for the last moment, because as we have seen at the end of the February, before the price increase, the APIs overload is a real thing. It can happen. And by that, you may miss the promotion that you are counting for. So if you plan to do the order today with a discount for annual term subscription, then that's really something that you have to do as soon as possible, because last moment things may not work out good for you. All right, so let's go for new commerce now. Let's do the overview that I would like to bring to make sure that you understand why it happens at all and why it is done and why we are where we are. So the new commerce in the big picture, I think that it's clear that the perpetual in CSP is actually a new commerce, even if it doesn't have this name. For a few years now, we offer perpetual and CSP, and that comes from the new platform already. Today, we are at the stage where open license is retired and all the customer segments, that's commercial, governmental, educational, and non-profit, available in CSP. And those partners who do the volume licensing must really move to the CSP now. There is certain steps that you may have to take in terms of becoming the CSP indirect preseller. If you are not yet there where you should be, signing the Microsoft partner agreements, moving to partner center, these kind of things, reach out to our sales locally. They will help you to go through this process to make sure that you are able to transact CSP with us. The next step for Microsoft was to move customers who are working with Azure on new Azure platform and providing these customers with the Azure plan. Migration today is in the last stage, so we see that most of our customers already today moved to the new Azure plan. And I think it's very important for partners who work with incentives with Microsoft directly, then it's really important that you move your customers there, because incentives from this legacy subscriptions are not anymore paid, so you only paid from the Azure plan. And that's very important that you move your customers if you still have customers left here. So the next logical step for Microsoft in this journey, moving to new commerce, would be changing and moving the seat-based offers to new commerce. And this is what we will be talking about. But I want to make sure that we all clear here that we talk about the commercial offers only. The educational and non-profit customers still use the legacy offers on the legacy platform. There is no date for that yet when we start moving those customers to new platform as well. But today we talk only about the customers who are using commercial SKUs. That's super important. But why we started to talk about the new commerce in general and where it comes from. So on the left side, you see the picture of basically what we have seen for last decade, where there were multiple programs with a number of different rules, benefits, different pricing and discounting models, which were actually creating a lot of inconsistencies for partners, because in the competition, partners weren't able to understand if they offer actually fit the customer needs, if they can offer something that is compatible and comparable with the offer of the competition. At the same time, the customer wasn't able to detect or understand if he gets actually the best possible offer, because it was hard to really understand if the offer is comparable or are those benefits the best that customer can get for the money. And that created a lot of inconsistencies on the market, a lot of tension on the market, where we also saw that in some countries, in some cases, we were competing with Microsoft directly with enterprise agreements, for example. So these kind of things where you don't have all the services that are available, for example, in enterprise, or you don't have all the benefits in CSP that are available in enterprise agreements, that was creating a lot of tension on the market. And we clearly saw that there are need for change. And so Microsoft is now shifting to the purchasing motions and make it more simpler for everybody to transact and understand where we are by creating 3 purchasing motion. That's the breadth motion, or the SMB motion, or CSP motion, basically. That's an enterprise motion or enterprise agreement motion for the larger partners, and the self-serve motion or direct web motion, Microsoft website, basically, where customers can do direct purchase. So regardless of these motions, everybody will have more consistent catalog of services, catalog of benefits, more consistent pricing and discounting models, so everybody understand how the price is calculated, how it comes, because price will be really a customer price. Everybody will have really clear set of core rules and use of the agreement that everybody signed. The agreement itself, the Microsoft partner agreement, will become over time a single agreement for all partner channels, so that you will be also behaving and working the same way. So everybody will be playing the same game by the same rules. At the same time, for the customers, that's also very consistent experience, because customer will be sure that the set of the benefits the customer gets, the price, the discount, the offer itself, the catalog of services is exactly the same, regardless what kind of purchasing motion customer will choose. So it all will be around what kind of additional value partner can bring to on the table to the customer, and what could be done, how customers could get more value working with certain resellers, and maybe even choosing multiple resellers for certain projects. So everybody will have a shot here working with the customer. And the main thing here is that actually, regardless who will be the transacting party, who actually will sell the license, every partner will still be able to provide additional value to the customer and to be recognized and rewarded from Microsoft for doing this this job at the customer side. So it becomes super consistent, and I believe that moving to this free purchasing motion schema will help actually resellers to have more benefits, to grow faster, to serve customers better, and be more profitable at the end. Every partner will still be able to do much more what they can do today because of the limitation of the licensing program, but everybody will have a shot and be able to earn actually more at the end. So I think that's very important to understand why we are moving to new commerce. All right, so let's go to new commerce itself. And at a glance, we can talk about a few things here. And I know that there are a lot of buzz on the market and a lot of feedback, not always very positive feedback from the resellers when it comes to the new commerce for seat-based offers. But I want to make sure that after today's presentation, you will change your mind if you still have negative emotions about new commerce, because at the end, the new commerce actually brings a lot more order and much more benefits for the channel than you may think. So what new commerce is about? It's all about the greater mutual commitments from all sides. So that means that the Microsoft gives commitments, like the price protection, for example, maybe for a longer period, like a 3-year SKUs in CSP. And that's a greater commitment also from the customer side, where customer will agree to stay with the with Microsoft and the reseller for a certain amount of time. So like locking customer for a certain amount of time. For partner, for you, it's definitely more confidence in your future. So you know that the customer stays with you longer. So that actually creates a lot more time for you to really work with the customer, to improve the relationship, to actually do the sales or do the deployment and not be afraid that the customer may go away at any moment. So I think that's actually a very good thing for the channel in general, to have these customers to be, so say, locked for a certain amount of time. Transparency and consistency in pricing benefits. It's also something that is seen that this has to bring more consistency in terms of partners knowing that whatever they offer, any other partner will also have the same model. You won't be afraid that some partners might have a bigger discounts in some deals. So the consistency here is very important. The other aspect of that is that the set of benefits that comes through the CSP program towards the customer, what kind of use rights customer may get. For instance, there is certain things that are not available today in CSP, but available in enterprise agreement, like hybrid use benefits or home use benefits, for example. So these things will also be more consistent. So in general, the parity should be there, regardless what kind of purchasing motion we talk about. For you as a partner in CSP, that will actually bring more ability to and more capabilities to serve bigger variety of customers. You actually get more customers at the end that you can serve, because you will have more services and more benefits that you can bring on the table that so far were not available for you. That also comes to the number of services or catalog of services that you have today in CSP, which may be different from what enterprise resellers have today. This is also very important, that Microsoft is bringing parity to the number of services, the catalog of services. For example, multi-geo SKU wasn't available so far in CSP, and I think bringing this to CSP from enterprise will also be very important for many customers that you are not able to serve today through CSP agreement, where they have some limitations, and that's actually becoming very, very important in terms of data protection law if we talk about the multi-geo SKU. But in general, having the parity in services catalog is very important for the channel. And of course, the adoption of services in general, and I'm talking about trials, I'm talking about the add-ons that can be purchased now separately from from the base license, which is not the case in legacy platform, and some new business models as well will help you to shorten the sales cycle and be more successful in upselling. But new commerce is also around the automation, the cost efficiency for a partner, and really to make sure that you have more time to do the sales rather than managing customer or managing licenses. So we talk about the automated renewals, we talk about schedule changes that you can set up, and so on and so on. So we will see more and more features provided by Microsoft in new commerce platform that will help you to be more efficient in how you manage your customers and the licenses of these customers. Talk about more detailed view. So this is something that probably will be this slide where the partners who've been already attending this event will be most important here. And I'm talking about this commitments and the cancellation window. So new commerce brings the enforced commitment to subscriptions. So if today in legacy you have 12 months commitment, but it's not enforced commitment, so you can cancel any time. In new commerce, the commitment is enforced. That means that after a short time of the window of cancellation, the channel and the end customer will be locked with the subscription until end of this commitment term. A 7-day window of cancellation is the new thing that came in on March 19. So far, it was 72 hours. So how this 7-day works? It actually works exactly the same. 7 days is actually 7 multiplied by 24 hours from the time of provisioning, change of seats, or renewal time. So the first 24 hours is exactly the same way, will result in the 100% of credit. The next 6 days, every day will cost you 1 day charge or 1 day fee of the subscription. But the cancellation window now is not 72 hours as it was before, but it's now 7 days. All the rest is exactly the same in the policies. All right, the commitments term now. There are 3 commitments term. It's a 1 month commitment term, it's a 1 year commitment term, and a 3-year commitment term. 3-year commitment term is available for certain dynamic SKUs, and this will become available for certain Microsoft 365 SKUs. I will show on the next slide when we could expect that. But the commitment term means that after the 7-day cancellation window, the customer will be locked with the partner until end of this commitment term. So if the commitment term is 1 month, the customer will be locked the whole month until the renewal time. And after that, customer may, for example, cancel or schedule this cancellation already in advance. If the commitment term is 1 year, the customer will be locked with the reseller for 1 year. And after 7 days of cancellation window opportunity, customer will be completely locked until that. Locked means also that there is an obligation to pay throughout the commitment term, regardless what kind of billing frequency is chosen. Either it's paid monthly or paid annually prepaid or paid for 3 years, but the obligation to pay will stay. So if customer has a 1 year commitment term, customer must pay until end of this commitment term. I can say that this is something that probably was creating a lot of issues so far, but I will tell you in a bit that it's actually more psychological issue rather than the real issue. But I want to talk first about the monthly commitment term. So the month's commitment term will be priced 20% higher. That's excluding Windows 365 now, but if you want to have shorter commitment term, you will have to pay more. This is really a cross-industry standard today. If you don't want to have a commitment 1 year contract with your gym, you will pay a higher price. The same with the streaming services. If you don't have an annual commitment, you will have a higher price. So that's in accordance with the cross-industry standard today. So it comes now to new commerce. However, the benefit for that, if you go for a longer commitment, the price protection, because the price protection is connected to the commitment term. So if your commitment term is 1 year, your price protection is 1 year. So whatever changes happen there, during the year, you are protected with the price. However, if you are on monthly commitment term, that means that after 1 month, if price have changed in the price list, the price will change for the subscription as well. So the price protection is connected to the commitment term. That's very, very important here. By default, the subscription will renew. And when it renews, then there will be a 7-day cancellation window again kicking in with all the changes that have been done during this time. The good thing is that you can mix and match the commitment terms and billing frequencies, which is actually very handy. And I think that in the future, that will be the role of the partner, really to tune the right combination of the commitment terms and billing frequencies to get the best possible offer for the customer in terms of flexibility of making changes and the price, of course, not to overprice everything. But I will show you on one example later. We looked into your install base. So what are your customers, how they use your services that you have, and is the commitment term, the hard commitment term, actually is an issue? What we found out is that almost 99% of your customers are evergreen. That means that they are not canceling subscriptions and they are not going away from you. And that's something that's probably should encourage you to really think from the commitment term, not as a bad thing, but really as an opportunity for you to get more done with your customer and work with your customer on more confident way. It's very clear that this problem today, what many still feel like it's a problem, it's actually more psychological. Your customers most probably will not notice that there is a hard commitment because they are staying with you more than a year. It doesn't mean that you don't have to tell that there is a hard commitment, obviously, and I really encourage everyone to really talk to your customers and introduce all the changes and explain what's the difference comparing to what it was so far. But in general, this commitment term issue is actually more psychological issue here. We looked even deeper into install base, and what we found is that less than 12% of customer subscriptions in our install base have made changes during 12 months. So majority of the subscriptions are very stable within a year, and only less than 12% of subscriptions have been changed during the year. That's very important to understand that your install base in majority very stable and you actually can go with the annual commitment without any issues. There are certain industries where the temporary workforce has a little bit bigger share, for example, in agriculture. So there probably a bigger fluctuation in number of seats needed during the year, but in general, overall, that's less than 12%. All right. Now let's take a look at the features that are already available or will become available in very short time frame, maybe long term. So Microsoft have already newcomers basic provisioning features. It's very clear that you can purchase things and you can cancel things with self-serve cancellation, and the proration is also self-serve. So basically, what you get from Marketplace, cancellation button, you terminate subscription right now, or you can schedule the termination of a subscription, and the proration of the credit will be also recalculated on the next billing period, which is monthly, and for us, it's always beginning of the month. Microsoft also introduced the suspending feature. Suspended basically allows you to stop users from using their services and the data, so they will not be able to access, except the global admin who will be able to download the data just to comply with the GDPR. But this feature is very handy to ensure that you will get your payment from the customer if customer is not paying on time. The add-on license, as I mentioned, can be purchased now separately from the base license. So that means that you don't have to have the base license to sell the add-on license to your customer. That's very handy for those partners who are specialized, for example, on voice or security. And that was super hard in legacy to really do the sale to the customer because you don't own the base license subscriptions. That will be now possible. Trials, we didn't bring trials yet in newcomers, but trials will be available with automation in conversion to commercial version with the configuration. So you basically will be able to configure the trial at the conversion to commercial version. At this moment, we are not looking into trials. At the moment, we want to focus on the main features, which is probably everybody is waiting for, and that's around the upgrade. An upgrade in midterm. Microsoft have introduced this feature on March 10th, so that was basically 2-3 weeks ago. Our engineering needs some time yet to release this feature in our cloud marketplace. So this is not yet available, but we hope in the next 2-3 weeks to bring this feature in the marketplace so that you will also be able to do the upgrades of new commerce licenses as you may want to do it already now. We understand that that's probably one of the most hottest topics at the moment. You're able to schedule changes like increasing or decreasing number of seats at renewal, so you can schedule that in advance already. You don't have to wait until renewal timeframe kicks in. And the auto renew, it's always on by default, but in the marketplace already as well, you can switch it on and off as you wish for your subscriptions. Good thing in new commerce is that there is no limitation on how many subscription you purchase for the same plan. In the legacy, it's limited by 2. In the new commerce, there is virtually no limit. So you can have the same plan purchased from multiple partners in multiple subscriptions, having different billing dates, having different commitment terms and billing frequencies. So you can mix and match as much as you need. There is virtually no limitations here. For other features that are probably coming soon is the capability to align the expiration or end dates of subscriptions, to have subscription to be expiring at the same date. That's a very handy feature, especially for partners working with certain contracts or partners working with tenders. That's very important as well. For some customers who, for budgeting purpose, want to have the same expiration date for all the subscriptions in CSP. So this feature has been released as well on March 10 by Microsoft. We will be releasing this feature early May, hopefully. Our engineering is exploring the APIs now, and we'll be implementing that into also Cloud Marketplace as soon as possible. But we expect the timeframe to be about May. Multi-year commitment of 3-year plans that Microsoft tried to introduce already this fiscal year. However, the date seems to be shifted from this quarter or early next quarter. We cannot say exact date now because it looks like it will be delayed a little bit, but in general, during this year, I hope it will happen in the next months or 2, but multi-year commitment term for Microsoft 365 services would create the parity with the enterprise agreements or OVS agreements, basically, where you would be able to provide a 3-year with 3-year price protection for certain Microsoft 365 SKUs. Multi-geo SKU as well. Seems like that this will be released in the next month or 2, but at this point there is no exact date for that. Multi-geo SKU basically enables to place the certain users' data to specific location in terms of data center. For example, that's super handy for those customers who have some users outside the country where all users are based. For example, if a Danish customer has users working from Germany, the German law would require to keep this user data within Germany. Same for Switzerland, for example. So this multi-geo SKU will enable that. We're really looking forward to see that also in CSP. Today, it is available only in enterprise agreements. There are other things like hybrid use rights, for example, which will enable customers moving to the cloud to keep their on-prem infrastructure without paying a license fee for the on-prem software, because these hybrid use rights will cover this licensing fee needs, so you don't have double cost in the time of when you move to the cloud or you want to keep some infrastructure hybrid. There are other things that Microsoft planning to introduce, but I think that's enough for now to focus on. Now let's look to the subscription behavior. So what you can do, what you cannot do here. So when you purchase subscription, you have 7 days to do all the changes possible, including canceling subscription as well. So all possible changes like changing plan, changing number of seats, and I mean decreasing, increasing number of seats, changing all the commitment terms and billing frequencies. So you can do any change you want to do or even cancel subscription within 7 days. And the first 24 hours, as I mentioned, will be free of charge, so you will get 100% of credit. From 25th hour, you will pay for every day 1 day fee that will be prorated and calculated. If you pass this 7 day, the subscription will be locked. That means that you still will be able to do a lot of changes, like increasing number of seats with prorated price. We will recalculate the price until end of the commitment term, and we'll recalculate this price to you, so you will get it on the next invoice. You can change the plan with prorated price and change your plan and tell in advance that it's an upgrade, so increasing number of features and number of apps in the plan. You can also increase the commitment term and billing frequency, for example, from monthly to annual, and so on. And you can schedule all the changes. For example, if you have a conversation with a customer during this commitment term, which might be, for example, a year, and you agree on some changes that you would like to make, then you can already schedule those changes that will kick in at the renewal time of the subscription. You can also cancel subscription to schedule the cancellation of subscription, because as I mentioned, during this midterm, you are locked together with customer and everybody must pay until end of this commitment term. By default, the auto renew is on. So if auto renew is on, the subscription will go into renew status and the 7-day cancellation window will open again. So you can cancel, you can do all the changes again. And if it's passed, then you will be also locked. You still will be able to do the changes, except few changes that are not possible during the midterm. And those are decreasing number of seats. So during the midterm, when you're locked, you can't decrease number of seats. You still can increase, but not decrease. And you cannot downgrade the plan. And downgrade the plan means reducing number of features and number of apps. There is a special table that we created for you that allows you to check what kind of upgrade options you have. So what kind of changes you can make to the plan during this midterm. So basically you will select the plan that you have today, and it will show you all the possible options where you can go from that. But you cannot decrease number of features, number of apps there. That's very important. A good thing for the partner is that, as I already mentioned several times, there is no change of partner option. Of course, there are some exceptions available. Main exception, I would say that it's exception when a partner is not able to deliver, basically the bankruptcy and insolvency cases. In that case, we as indirect provider will take over and we'll change the partner there, working with the customer on that. But that's basically it. So you can be sure that if you have the customer in this midterm period, you have your time working with your customer without being afraid that the customer will go away any moment. All right, so a bit about the differences that you have comparing to the legacy. We already described some, and I want to make sure that you understand that there is very clearly misconception about the minimum time of purchase, so how many minimum you can have the services. If in the legacy, it's basically a day where you can use the service for 1 day and you will be charged 1 day. In the new commerce, you actually can have up to 7 days, which is a cancellation window period. And you actually will be paying for 6 days only if you cancel last day, right? Because the 24 hours, first 24 hours are for free. But then actually the minimum period is 1 month. So you will have to go to pay for 1 month, going with the month term, which will be 20% more expensive, right? But that's the minimum time to purchase software. In case you need for short time certain software, it is recommended either to use the 7-day cancellation window or to use the trial licenses. In that case, the trial licenses, despite they are not available today in the Cloud Marketplace, yet in newcomers, you can go with the trial licenses from the web and then switch to newcomers in the Cloud Marketplace by purchasing the license with configuration that you need, because trial license will expire eventually. The cancellation is probably the thing that you have to acknowledge, that you can cancel anytime at legacy. There is no cancellation fee. There is no lock for the subscription. In new commerce, there is a 7-day cancellation window, and then you will be locked. So combination of different commitment terms and billing frequencies will help you to find the right combination to serve the customer so that the price will not go super high on monthly term subscriptions, as they are 20% more expensive, and you will have still some flexibility for your customer. I think the biggest challenge, however, in new commerce is not this cancellation window, but it is about changing number of seats. The fact that in the midterm you cannot reduce number of seats, I think this is the biggest challenge here for you, which means that you will have to be more precise in assessing the features of the plan, the needs of the customer, the needs in terms of number of users customer have today and may have in a month, 3, 5, a year, and to have this conversation, to be very, very precise when you go for purchasing new commerce. You can't really simply just purchase something and then adjust it at any time, as you can do it in legacy, but you have to be very precise what you're doing, because maybe it will be a challenge for you to roll it back after 7 days, and reduction of seats probably will be the biggest challenge for everybody, especially in the beginning, unless you will learn how to really make this and balance it to find the best possible option. But you have to be very, very precise in that. And I really want to stress this once again. Scheduling changes is something that's not available in legacy, and I think that this is actually a super helpful thing to help you really to serve your customer in a more cost-efficient way, because you will be able to schedule changes on the fly while talking to your customer. During the meeting, basically, you agree on something, you make these changes already that will kick in during the renewal time, so you don't have to really sit and wait when the renewal time is coming, so you can do it really, really easy and schedule, so it will be more efficient for you. I think that all this will be enable you to scale your business at the end and be really more focused on your customer rather than just managing the customer licensing. Some more suspending features, of course, is what's not available in legacy, but now you can really suspend the subscription and force the payment for the customer. So that's really, really something interesting. Instead of the terminating licenses like you have it today, right? You have a termination feature. You can terminate and basically customer will not be able to use the software anymore. But suspending will keep actually the billing. Suspending means that the billing will continue. The customer still will need to pay even if he cannot use the software and services. And this is actually a good thing because the price protection will still be valid, so you won't get any higher price in case there is a price increase. If there is a promotion will be kept as well. So if you have a promotion price, suspending will not break any terms. And the expiration of the commitment term will also stay in place, so you don't have to start the commitment from the beginning, right? So the suspending is actually really, really good feature to manage your customer payment behavior if there is a need for that. The hard commitments, and this is very important. Hard commitment means financial obligations. Something that you didn't have in legacy. If customer doesn't pay, you terminate and that's it. So customer can't have it. In the hard commitment, you're obliged to pay to us and we're obliged to pay to Microsoft. That means that the customer is obliged to pay to you. And making sure that the customer is actually able to pay or finding the ways how to really enforce that is very important. But I want to just stress out, and I will show you some best practices, but we found out right now in the next slides as well. But financial obligation, hard commitment is something that hasn't been the case in legacy. The price protection for multi-year commitment that comes for 3-year SKUs, it's really, really something that is very useful for customers who have very stable install base. It's very handy for those customers who are having long-term budgeting, especially customers who do long-term budgeting and making tenders. You will be able actually to participate in these tenders and guarantee the price for the 3-year contract. That's very, very important for partners working with the larger customers. Promotions, and this is super cool. Promotions becoming automated. You probably know and you probably experienced yourself the promotions, the special prices in the legacy is a nightmare. Normally that's a separate SKU. Sometimes it's a credit note later, sometime in live, maybe next live. And so it was very, very complicated to manage it. And at the end, it was a chaos. So promotions in new commerce are becoming automated. So you get the promotion from the same SKU. You don't have to worry about that. And you don't have to be worried if your customer will be eligible for promotion or not. The validation of eligibility for the promotion is done through the APIs. On your behalf, we are doing that automatically on the background. So you will get the promotional price only if the customer is already eligible for that. So this is super cool. And the promotion will be calculated in the price immediately. So there is no credit notes or anything at the end. We already discussed the add-ons, and I think that this is super cool that you can actually extend your sales and still the variety of customers you can serve now by having the ability to add add-ons without having a base license. All right, let's take a look quickly to Marketplace and the features. So you probably have seen that the new commerce services are marked with the NCE mark. And if there is an available promotion for this service, it doesn't mean that the promotion will be eligible for every customer. That will be checked during the purchasing motion. But if there is a promotion for particular SKU, you will see this percentage mark, which says that there is a promotion for SKU. You can filter by the tag NCE, or you can search by NCE in the name. We have the name for new commerce seed-based offers starting with NCE. That's actually super helpful when you see that in the admin center at the customer side. It also will be showing NCE in the name, so you actually can determine that in the list of customer subscriptions, which are the NCE from also. We work also on the product description, but I think that most important here is the special product terms that we created for you. The special product terms have all the description of the policies of NCE and some important things that comes from partner agreement and customer agreement, so that you actually, I really advise you to get familiar with those. We are changing that because now there is 72-hour change to 7 days, but special product terms is a document that I really advise you to pass to your customers as well, so that they agree, because you actually must provide these terms to your customer prior the purchase. When it's purchasing results, as I already told that we are checking on the background automatically if there is a promotion for this SKU and this customer is eligible for that or not. So if customer will be eligible, you will see this immediately, and we actually will be providing that, selecting that for you by default. So promotion will be by default selected. Default option in general is a 1-year commitment with billing monthly. You can change that by selecting another one from the drop box in billing type. Billing type contains the promotion, the billing frequency, and the commitment term. You will find the full description. We have extended description of what it will be during the purchasing. So several times we will say to you how this subscription will look like and what kind of commitments it has, just to make sure that you understand fully what it is. Auto renew is always on. And what's important here, and I really want to stress this as well, MPN ID validation against MPA terms. We want to make sure that partners we work with are legit businesses, have signed MPA agreement with Microsoft, and have, of course, valid MPN ID. We require you to place the MPN ID to the transaction. You can update your MPN ID in Azure Cloud Marketplace in your profile so that you will have this saved, but we require to have MPN ID for transactions in new commerce. We have a number of notifications as well already, so you can schedule notifications not to miss the thing. So that's very important, especially at certain moments, so that you really have everything you need not to miss anything. We also work on the reporting, where you have your expiration dates, where you have your cancellation window closure dates. So this kind of things. You also see a lot of information when you go to the subscription. We show you not only when is the window closing for you, but also, for example, when you have changed some number of seats, so when you can roll it back last moment. There is also information about the expiration of subscription and auto renew status, what you can change. So you basically can make a lot of management things here already. It's like changing the quantity if possible. In the future, you will get an upgrade option as well. but you can also schedule changes here already as well by having the using the button that we have here. If something is wrong and you cannot do something, we will tell you that in the error message. Like, for example, if you cannot decrease number of seats or roll back more than you can, then we will tell you that there is something wrong and you cannot do this. You have to try it this way. All right. So this is something that you can, for example, schedule. So some screenshots for you just to make sure you understand how this works. In your efforts to migrate, I think it's very important for you to know that we have brought the migration tool to Marketplace as well, so you can actually migrate your customers from legacy to new commerce with a very simple tool. We call it set and forget tool. Basically, you select it on the customer level, you press the button, it shows you all available services that you have, and we only can migrate monthly billed subscriptions from legacy, and we will enable you to migrate those to the same annual commit monthly billed subscriptions in new commerce if there is an equivalent service available in your marketplace that you created. And when you press OK button, everything will happen on the background. You don't have to worry about anything. We make sure that there is a service available in new commerce, and we will migrate on the background for you. So if you have multiple customers to migrate, for example, today, you can set and forget. You go to your customer, you set the migration, press OK, and you go to your next customer to do the same. So that's a very simple way how to do this. I can tell you that we migrated a huge number of seats, and we were surprised how well this tool was actually accepted. And by our estimations, we actually were almost half more successful than we initially thought that we will be. And in majority, that's the thanks to this migration tool. So I really encourage you not to do migration manually, but really use the tool if possible. There are some limitations, of course, like we don't do migration of annually prepaid licenses. We can't do migration of the licenses that have been purchased in legacy less than 30 days ago. That's a limitation on Microsoft's side, by the way. And there are a few more things which we are not moving. Those are add-ons, those are promotions, and end-of-life SKUs. And I think that it makes no sense to move end-of-life SKUs and promo SKUs because those have definitely better condition than the NCE. So that's obvious. All right, some considerations. So before you start purchasing, and this is something from the best practices, always you have to check the financial status of your customer. Especially going for longer commitments. Every country has some kind of credit score or credit ratings that you can check about the customer. I really encourage everyone to make this as a practice, to make it as a process in your organization so that you always check the financial status of the customer. You always have agree on the payment terms, and if you doubt that customer may have troubles to pay, we recommend that you go with the monthly billing in terms of purchase, but you ask for extended payment from the customer. For example, you have annual commitment with monthly payments, but you ask customer to pay a quarter in advance. So this kind of practice we see very common in the countries, and it's not only in CE countries, for example, where there are more of the risks of non-payment, but we also see that in the Western European countries and even Nordics. So this is one of the practices that is recommended to use in case you have doubts, or for example, if it's a new customer for you, you're not very familiar with the customer behavior. We really strongly recommend you to use a way how to deliver information about the policies in e-commerce to your customer. Microsoft called it independent customer agreement. This is actually the term that comes from your MPA agreement that you have signed with Microsoft. And Microsoft require you by the MPA terms to sign with customer the independent customer agreement. We provide you with the NCE special product terms. You can use this document as the basis for your customer agreement. If you don't have it at the moment yet, you can use our document to give to the customer and ask customer to acknowledge that the customer understands these terms. But it's very important that you will have this practice implemented into your routine when you work with the customer before the purchase. It's very important as well that you ensure that customer will sign the customer agreement with Microsoft. We will do this check on the background while purchasing, and we will tell you if customer have no Microsoft customer agreement signed. We will tell you so that you will have to make your steps to make this happen as well. For you, as I already mentioned, it's important that you have a valid MPN ID so that you have signed the partner agreement with Microsoft, because otherwise we will not allow you to transact. That also comes from our Microsoft partner agreement that we have signed, that we are obliged to do this check, and we actually validate it against Microsoft data every time you are making a purchase, so that we want to make sure that we all in the chain of purchase are compliant with Microsoft partner agreement. Once again, get familiar yourself with the special product terms. It's very important. And before you move your customers, always check if the migration will result in at least the same conditions or better in terms of price, because there are possibly cheaper price that have been purchased in legacy. Makes no sense to move it. There might be a promotional price or promotional SKU, makes no sense to move it. And definitely make sure that the equivalent service is available in a new commerce experience, so that's not an end-of-life service. Because if migration tool will do it for you, but moving customers manually may result an issue. Always do the purchasing manually first, newcomers. Ensure that the newcomer service is provisioned at the customer side, because there is a delay and that might take sometimes a lot of time, so you may see that it's still pending, but make sure that first you purchase your newcomers and then you cancel the legacy. That's very important. And once again, I want everybody would acknowledge the price increase that has happened in March for 6 SKUs Microsoft 365, because that's very important before you move to newcomers, not to make a mistake. And as already told, you have to really ensure that you know your customer better, you fit the plan and number of seats, so that you combine monthly and annual SKUs to get the best possible price, but at the same time keep the flexibility. And remember, there was less than 12% of subscription haven't changed during the year, so that's probably something that you have considered when you talk to a customer, to maybe make 10% of monthly build SKU with the monthly term, and maybe 90% in annual prepaid or annual monthly build, to combine, to leave some flexibility to make changes to decrease number of seats. Or if you make sure that customer know how customer will grow in terms of number of people, you actually can see how much you need licenses and what kind of licenses those are. But it's very important that you ensure and talk to the customer before making decisions what to purchase and in which quantities. And once again, please do acknowledge that upgrade feature in S.A.S Cloud Marketplace will be available in March, April, but I think that's in the 2 weeks from now, some 2-3 weeks. There are still some SKUs which have errors, but most of the errors now have been cleared out. So we fixed almost everything. There are a few SKUs, I think, on Dynamics side, which are still not working, even on Microsoft side, but majority of the SKUs by today should be already fixed in the marketplace. The promotion we discussed, so it's 5% that is ending today. You still have a chance to purchase annual commitment subscriptions with 5% discount. And the 20% is not charged, so this uplift price is not charged for monthly term subscriptions until end of June. So next steps for you. Use all materials we have, because we do have a lot of materials for you prepared. Use the knowledge base in the S.A.S Cloud Marketplace. Go through the Q&A, watch the recording again, ask your questions, talk to us. Definitely ask questions if you don't understand something. There are no stupid questions. There are not very smart people who are not asking those questions. So we want to make sure that we also learn. So let's learn together, and it's very important that everybody would understand how the thing works. It's also important that once again, you update your MPN ID and you start planning the change management internally to make sure that you implement certain processes when you work with your customers, and talk to your customers about the changes and start planning the transition if you haven't started it yet. It's very, very important that you will plan this in advance. There are possibly some errors in the marketplace, some bugs. even possibly. So if you see something that's not behaving as you expect, please talk to us and report that immediately to us. We will clearly very fast react on these things, and we'll be trying to assess it. And if there isn't something wrong, then we'll try to repair it as soon as possible. You will also get some links for you that will help you to get directly to some information that can be very useful for you. And with that, I would like to thank you for joining us today. And I wish you a really pleasant rest of the day. Bye-bye.